Long ago, there was a beautiful town situated on the bank of the Tungabhadra river. All the people of that town were engaged in righteous acts and they always spoke truth. There lived in that town a Brahman named Atmadeva who knows all the Vedas and was glorious like sun. He was very rich and had a wife named Dhundhuli who was very beautiful from outside but very stubborn from inside. She was also very cruel, quarrelsome and miserly. The Brahman couple lived together in a good house and had enough wealth to satisfy their desires, but they were not happy because they did not have a son. For getting son, they even started gifting every day cows, land, gold and clothes to the needy people, though they didn't have a son. One day the Brahman went to the forest and at midday he was very thirsty, so he went to drink water at well. The sorrow of not having son had made him lean and thin. After he had drunk water, he sat down exhausted. After some time, a Sanyasi arrived there and quenched his thirst. Then Sanyasi asked the Brahman, "You seem to be very distressed. Tell me the cause of your grief." The Brahman shared the cause of his grief, which is that he didn't have any son. The Sanyasi, who was established in yoga, looked the lines on the forehead of Brahman and know everything about his future. Then the Sanyasi said, "Listen to me, O Brahman. I have looked into your past karma at your forehead and found out that you will have absolutely no son for 7 lives. In the past life, even King Sagara and Anga had to suffer a lot because they wanted to get son at any cost. Thus, Hey Brahman, give all the hope of having family, because the human form is not for increasing family, rather it is for the God realization." The Brahman said, "O saint, after listening to this thing, I don't want to live now. I want to give up my life because there is not pleasure in life without having a son. The only sweet thing in this world is family crowded with sons and grandsons." The Sanyasi said, "O Brahman, even King Chitraketu suffered greatly in his attempt to undo his destiny. So be happy what you have right now and start chanting the name of Lord Sri Krishna." But Brahman was not convinced and was still pressing his demands. So seeing this, the Sanyasi gave a fruit to Brahman and said, "Let your wife eat this fruit. She will then give a birth to a son. But for 1 year, your wife must practice truthfulness, cleanliness and kind-heartedness and take meal only once a day. By doing so, she will get a son." Having said so, the Sanyasi departed and the Brahman returned to his house and told everything that happened in the way and gave her the fruit to eat and went somewhere. Our wife inside the house said to one of her female friends, "I am greatly worried because if I eat this fruit, I will get big bellied. I will not be able to take full meals, which will make me weak. I will also not be able to do all domestic works. If this child comes out in a slanting position, I may even lose my life. It appears difficult for me to practice truthfulness, cleanliness and so on." Arguing like this, she didn't eat the fruit, but when her husband asked if she had taken it, she said she had. One day her sister came to her house and she narrated everything to her and said, "I am greatly worried, sister. What shall I do?" Then her sister replied, "I am right now bearing a child who is going to born soon. After this I shall give it to you. Till that time you pretend to be innocent and stay in the house comfortably. Give some money to my husband and I will hand over the child to you. I will pretend to everyone that my child died and I will come to your house daily to take care of the child as well. Regarding the fruit, in order to test its power, feed it to cow." As is the nature of woman, the Brahman's wife did exactly what she was suggested. Now in due course, when a child was born to the sister, she brought the child as promised early. Then Dhundhuli informed that the child has been comfortably born to her, all well happy to hear that a son was born to Atmadeva finally, and there was a big celebration at his house. Now Dhundhuli said to her husband, "There is no milk in my breast. How shall I be able to nourish this child? My sister has recently given birth to a child, but the child died. Should I call her on our house so that she can feed milk to our child for his nourishment?" Atmadeva accepted that and the problem was solved. Dhundhuli named that child Dhundhukari. 3 months later, the cow also gave birth to a human child. The child was very beautiful and Atmadeva accepted that child as his son. Since his ears were similar to cow, his name was put Gokarna by his father. Gradually the two boys grew to manhood. Among them Gokarna was very wise and enlightened, while Dhundhukari was very evil. Dhundhukari never practiced cleanliness and other rules of good conduct appropriate to a Brahman. He ate rajas and tamas things. His anger was boundless. He committed thefts and robbery and set fire to others' houses. He used to take small kids pretending to love, then immediately threw them into a well. He oppressed the miserable and the blind. Falling into the evil company of prostitutes, he finished all the wealth of his family. One day he scolded his parents and took away even the utensils from the house. When all the property was lost, the miserly father was in agony and said to himself, "It would have been better if this child was dead at the womb of mother. An evil son is a source of agony. Now where shall I go? Where shall I live?" That very moment, the wise Gokarna arrived there and tried to explain him the reality of this world. He said, "There is no happiness in this world. Everything is full of misery, and neither son nor wealth belong to us. Even the Indra, who is king of heaven, is unhappy. He alone is happy, who has given up all the pleasures of senses and practiced the hearing and names of stories of Lord Sri Krishna. So give up this silly notion that Dhundhukari is your son. Go to forest and spend your entire life in the sweet remembrance of the infinite Lord Sri Krishna." Upon hearing the suggestion of Gokarna, his father decided to go to the forest and said, "O son, point out to me, what should I do while living in the forest? I have been very full and bounded by affection of the worldly relationships. Please lift me up with your compassion." Then Gokarna replied, "Do not identify yourself as the body consisting of bones, flesh and blood. You are the soul, whose everything is Lord Sri Krishna. Do not regard this wife and son as yours, and constantly look upon this world as temporary, because one day everyone has to leave this world. Taste the joy of dispassion and be established in devotion to the Lord, thus abandoning all worldly duties. Constantly practice the remembrance of Sri Krishna." Following his son's advice, Atmadeva went to the forest. Although his age was 60, he was the man of firm determination. Thus he engaged day and night in the service of Sri Krishna, and finally attained Krishna by regularly reading the 10th skanda of Srimad Bhagwat. Upon his father retiring to forest, Dhundhukari severely beat his mother one day and threatened her, saying, "Tell me where the money is, or else I will thrash you with a burning stick." Upon hearing such harsh words from his son, the mother committed suicide that night, falling inside the well. Established in the union with God, Gokarna experienced neither sorrow nor joy after this incident. He had no enemy nor friends and left on a pilgrimage. Now Dhundhukari stayed in the house along with 5 prostitutes. For fulfilling the needs of the women, he used to steal wealth from here and there. One day he has stolen a huge amount of wealth and put it inside his house. Upon seeing that wealth, the 5 women discussed, "Our husband commits theft every day, hence he will surely be sentenced to death one day by king. All his wealth will be seized. So for the preservation of wealth, why not to secretly kill him? Then with so much wealth, we can live our dream life." Then these women agreed, and according to plan, they bound him tightly with rope while he was asleep and choked his neck with a wire. However, he did not die soon. Then they, in anxiety, put the burning coal inside his mouth, and he finally dies in extreme pain. They buried his body somewhere, and whenever they were questioned about their husband, they would answer that he has gone to some distant place to earn wealth. A wise man should under no circumstance trust such wicked women. Their speech is full of nectar, while their heart is piercing as a knife. Collecting the wealth, those women left that place, and they had many husbands like Dhundhukari. As a result of his evil deeds, Dhundhukari took the form of an evil spirit and was in terrible suffering. He runs from here and there and repeats the word, "O Lord, please forgive me," but he found no protection. After some time, Gokarna knew from the people that his brother Dhundhukari died. Regarding a helpless soul, Gokarna performed the Shraddha ceremony at Gaya. Finally, Gokarna returned to his town and came to sleep at night in the courtyard of his own house. Seeing Gokarna sleeping there, Dhundhukari visited him in the spirit form. He appeared in different form like buffalo, elephant, Indra, etc. Seeing such inconsistent behavior, Gokarna concluded that he was an evil spirit. Then without any fear, Gokarna asked, "Who are you?" In the answer, the spirit only cried and couldn't speak. Then Gokarna sprinkled holy water on him, and finally the spirit said, "I am your brother Dhundhukari, and due to my numberless sins, I have got this form. I am in terrible suffering, and oh brother, you are the only one who can save me. Please have your mercy upon me." Gokarna said, "I have already performed your Shraddha in Gaya, and yet you are still in spirit form. It is a matter of great surprise. Now you go and stay on your abode, and tomorrow morning I shall think about the solution." Tomorrow morning all the people gathered and discussed how can he be liberated from the spirit form, and no any conclusion took place. Then Gokarna asked the sun god the question, and he answered, "For the liberation of Dhundhukari, you must give a complete reading of Srimad Bhagwat in the course of a week." Then after Gokarna decided to read the book, and many people from different places gathered there to listen the Bhagwat for the destruction of their sins. Gokarna suggested Dhundhukari to remain inside a bamboo with 7 joints, standing erect, as he was unable to remain fixed at one place. At the end of the day, a miracle happened. One of the 7 joints of bamboo cracked. On the second day, second joint cracked, and so on. Finally, at the 7th day, Dhundhukari came out of the bamboo, but not in evil form, rather in a divine form, wearing a yellow pitambar and tulsi garland. He then greeted his brother and said, "All glory to this book Srimad Bhagwat, which contains the story of Lord Sri Krishna, which can destroy all the sins of the papi like me. After destruction of my sins, I have now got this divine body. Just like fire consumes all kinds of pieces of wood, whether moist or dry, small or big, so does the 7 days hearing of Bhagwat eradicated all kinds of sins inside us. Just like bubbles appearing in water or mosquitoes among living beings, those who didn't listen to Bhagwat are just born to die. Meanwhile, the Parsad of Lord Vishnu came with a Viman, holy aerial car, and took the Dhundhukari to the divine abode of Lord Vishnu, which is Vaikuntha." This concludes our story. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.